The town of Maplewood had lived under a shadow for 4 long years. Every streetlight, every missing poster still stapled to telephone poles, carried the weight of 2 names. Emily and Sophie, 2 young sisters who had vanished without a trace one summer afternoon. Families moved away, children weren't allowed to walk to school alone anymore, and hope had nearly drained from the town like water slipping through a crack in the ground. But one bark would change everything. It was a chilly autumn morning when Officer Daniel Hayes, a man hardened by years on the force but never numbed to loss, brought his loyal 9, Max, out for what he thought would be just another routine training exercise. No one could have predicted that within minutes Max would freeze, his ears shooting up, his nose pressed against the old neighbor's cellar door, growling and barking with a frantic desperation Daniel had never seen before. Something or someone was down there. Emily and Sophie's disappearance had haunted their mother, Rachel Turner, every single day. She lived in that awful space between grief and denial, unable to move on but too afraid to give up hope. Neighbors would sometimes whisper, "She needs to let go." But Rachel clung to faith like a drowning woman to driftwood. She lit candles every night in her daughter's room, whispering prayers into the dark. The police had searched everywhere in those first weeks, woods, rivers, abandoned buildings, but each lead crumbled into nothing. Over the years, the investigation went cold, boxes of evidence gathering dust. But Rachel never stopped. She attended every missing child's vigil, begged the police to reopen the case, and carried the same pictures of Emily and Sophie in her purse until they were worn at the edges. When Max's bark pierced the quiet morning, Daniel's instincts surged. He tugged at the cellar door, but it was locked tight. The air coming through the cracks was damp, heavy, and strange. His heart raced. "Dispatch, I need backup," he whispered into his radio. Rachel was called to the scene minutes later. She arrived trembling, not daring to believe. The entire neighborhood gathered, hushed, their breath fogging in the cool air as officers forced open the cellar door. The hinges groaned, darkness spilling out like a secret too long buried. Max lunged forward, barking with urgency, and then a sound that froze everyone in place. A faint, trembling voice. "Help us!" 2 figures emerged from the shadows, frail and blinking against the sudden daylight. Emily and Sophie, alive. "Uwe." Rachel screamed her daughter's names, collapsing to her knees as they rushed into her arms. The embrace was so raw, so desperate, that even the officers standing by, hardened men and women, wiped tears from their eyes. The girls had been held captive all those years, in the very house of a neighbor who'd lived just doors away. He was quiet, polite, the kind of man no one suspected. While families searched and wept, he carried groceries inside and waved to neighbors, hiding the darkest secret of all. The rescue was only the beginning. Emily and Sophie had lived in fear and isolation, robbed of their childhood. They had to relearn trust, safety, even the simple comfort of sunlight. Rachel faced her own battles, guilt for not protecting them, and the challenge of helping her daughters heal from scars no one could see. There were sleepless nights filled with nightmares, therapy sessions that brought both tears and breakthroughs, and moments where it seemed too heavy for any of them to carry. But together, step by step, they rebuilt what was broken. The hero Max, the 9, became a local legend. Children drew pictures of him, the town held parades in his honor, and Rachel often said, "God answered my prayers." Through a dog's bark, Officer Hayes admitted later that he had almost retired months earlier, exhausted from years of cases that never found closure. But that day reminded him why he had put on the badge: to protect, to fight for hope, to believe even when evidence said otherwise. 4 years of darkness had nearly drowned a family and a town in despair. But one thing remained unbroken: hope, hope. Rachel never gave up, and that relentless love became the thread that tied her daughters back to her arms. The story spread far beyond Maplewood, reminding the world that miracles sometimes arrive when you least expect them, sometimes in the form of a bark echoing through a quiet morning. As the screen fades, the message lingers. No matter how much time passes, no matter how heavy the silence, hope is never wasted. Sometimes it only takes one voice, one prayer, or even one bark to change everything. Would you like me to also break this into 15-minute YouTube narration segments, scene by scene, so it flows smoothly with visuals and dramatic pauses?